Well, it's the fight that's going on in the ring, the fictional fight, a much more entertaining fight. You won't have Thanksgiving ruined by this fight, let me tell you, unless somebody's really, really, really into Jon Moxley. It's a WrestleZone wrap-up, baby! Go ahead and share the link so you don't stink. I'm Kevin Kellum. Sing along the theme song and get into it with me. We have a lot to get into. All Elite Wrestling presents Full Gear on pay-per-view this Saturday night. That's right, traditional pay-per-view. That we'll cover it. I won't do it alone. Joining me from a state that swung red, and I am in a state that swung blue. That's right. We're all talking about colors now, specifically two of them. If you're looking at a map,
does this mean we're enemies according to the internet, Kevin?
Yes, we're enemies. We are now sworn enemies.
We're sworn enemies.
How you doing, Robert DeFelice? Robert DeFelice, how are you, buddy? He's in Tampa. I'm in Chicago.
I'm all right.
Yeah.
You know?
And we want to talk to everyone who's watching. We know what's going on. We know that wrestling is very much, it is not in the backseat. It's barely in the trunk. Maybe it's hanging on the bumper of your attention right now. But if you're coming to us for an escape from what is going on, whether it be how you're hearing this on demand later after you know the election results, or while they're kind of still coming in, we're not a news show. We're a wrestling show. We're going to talk about wrestling. That's why you're here. And we're going to give you a fun escape from everything that's going on. We hope you guys are enjoying the show. Get your comments on screen. If you're watching it for the first time, we're going to talk about All Elite Wrestling. We're going to talk about WWE NXT. We did a big post show for them last night with John Clark. I really liked AEW Dynamite and their go home for this Saturday's pay-per-view. That's mainly what we're going to talk about today. I thought NXT had a strong show as well. I got to watch it this morning. I think Pat McAfee is maybe one of the best talkers right now in wrestling. And also on our podcast feed, you can check out an exclusive interview we have with Eddie Kingston, the man who will challenge for the AEW World Heavyweight title on Saturday night against Jon Moxley. He had an amazing promo, maybe one of the best segments of Wednesday night on either channel was his segment there. So, Robert, let's get into the wrestling news of the day. The Wednesday ratings are oh so important. They are oh so important. Is it going to be Dynamite or is it going to be WWE NXT? And last week NXT won. Last week NXT won, so Dynamite's going to kick their ass, but something else kicked everyone's ass.
Something else kicked everybody's ass, Kevin. We have an election going on in the United States. If you don't know, I don't know how you couldn't, but that meant that both shows were out of the top 50 for the demo. But as numbers go, AEW Dynamite drew 717,000, which is down from 781. It's also the least watched 2-hour Dynamite since July 8th. As for NXT, it drew 610,000, so way down from Halloween Havoc's 876,000. It is what it is. AEW drew a 0.3 in the rating. NXT drew a 0.14. This is where we're at. Wrestling is wrestling. The news dominated the cycle. It will dominate the cycle for the rest of the calendar year, folks. It's okay. That's where we're at.
I mean, they didn't do as bad as I thought they were going to do. I thought they were going to lose hundreds of thousands. Now NXT lost over 250,000, right, from week to week, and they won last week. They beat AEW by over 100,000 last week. So we knew things were going to get wacky. We knew everyone's focus was going to be elsewhere, but both shows didn't even crack the top 50 overall. I mean, they did okay in their demo numbers, but I mean the overall numbers. Woo!
Sad day for Chris Jericho. That was his final AEW Dynamite appearance as a member of the coveted 18 to 49 demographic.
Oh, he turns 50 this weekend, right?
He turns 50 Monday at the stroke of midnight. Let's hope that the members of the inner circle will be stroking that ego. I don't know, Kevin. I thought Dynamite was the best show I've seen from them in months. I fell in love with this company again. They did awesome things. Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston sold me a ticket. They sold me a season's pass. I will watch them if they're holding microphones. I don't care what row I gotta be in.
Man, it's just impressive to think. We that was a good match, right? We knew this was going to be a fun match. We knew there had been seeds of Eddie getting some stuff in there in promos that was kind of under the surface, saying that we knew each other and you were supposed to take care of me and you had promised me something we didn't know it, which wasn't finalized. In terms of a go home, really pulling back the curtain and letting words talk people into the seats, not violence, because they've done enough of it. They had a match. He got choked out. He didn't tap out. So now they have an I Quit match. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes complete sense. Like they built in the I Quit element with a personal way, just like you saw similarly with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. That meant something. It was a personal issue. And dialogue drove in the story. They got in the ring. They made it clear in this promo segment last night on Dynamite that they couldn't touch each other. And man, did they get in each other's head. They were forehead to forehead. Jon Moxley wouldn't let go of the microphone. I love that when Eddie Kingston wouldn't let go of the microphone when Moxley went to talk. I love that. I thought that was so great. One of the best like face-off segments I've seen.
Your mother Ruthie is now my favorite thing in the history of wrestling. Never mind Trent's mom Sue, who's a great woman, by the way. Mm-hmm. But your mother Ruthie is now the big character that is nameless and faceless. But we know Eddie Kingston made a promise to his mother that he cannot keep because Jon Moxley will not say I quit to allow him to keep this promise.
Mother's Day, dude. Book it. Sue Beretta versus Ruthie Kingston.
That's some New York nastiness. I don't know if
Trent Beretta and his mom Sue versus Eddie Kingston and Ruthie. Eddie Kingston's mom comes out there in the same yellow and black gear that he has on. It'd be adorable.
I don't know if I would want to see that New York nastiness get down on either side.
But how about Eddie Kingston's response when Jon Moxley brought up his mom? Also, isn't Moxley supposed to be the heel?
Well, he did a babyface thing. He said
he did a babyface thing, but he brought up someone's mother. You know what I mean?
No, well, Eddie Kingston brought up his mother. Eddie Kingston said, "I'm gonna make you say I quit, and then I'm gonna throw that belt at the feet of my mother and tell her this is why I never gave you a daughter-in-law. This is why I never gave you a grandchild."
Love that line.
Jon Moxley snapped back and said, "I broke bread. I said grace with your mother."
You did a table. It sounded like it was. I've seen some other people make this comparison in wrestling. It felt like something out of a Scorsese's movie, and I thought that was absolutely true. It felt like something in a Tarantino movie too, like the tilt of a scene into something.
I loved this so much that I was ultimately I've been a salty individual towards this product for the last several weeks.
You've been very salty.
I was forced to just go, you know what?
Your sodium intake and what you were taking, your sodium that you were taking from Dynamite was very high.
Well, I am cutting back on the sodium because I loved this. I thought this was the best you could have done. Jon Moxley saying, I have to break my promise to your mother because I can't take care of you anymore.
Oh.
And Eddie Kingston just said, if you're going to bring up my mother, you better kill me. And like the New Yorker in me, and the person in me, first of all, but the delivery, the New Yorker in me just resonated with Eddie Kingston cutting Moxley off. It wasn't like fluid verbiage where it's, I say something, you say something. They were just talking over each other and just, you better kill me. If you're going to make me break a promise to my mother, you better kill me. I am ready to see two men die.
We'll do a rundown of AEW Full Gear here and the whole card, match for match, and all the different storylines. But obviously, we kind of knew with what was going on this week that they would dominate the wrestling week. But also, bad luck for them in terms of picking the week with such a divisive election where the media focus could be in other places.
They could have picked. Well, hold on. It's not like they didn't know.
No, mind you, we didn't know how crazy things were going to be 9 months ago when you lay out your schedule like this too.
Fair. That is a fair statement, Kevin. We did not know what the world is going to be like.
Harold Robinson saying that was a great segment from AEW. I absolutely agree. And we'll get into the rumors. We'll get into this big rumor. Jeremy Smith is. I expected this today. We're already being texted about a man called Sting and whether or not he'll show up. We'll talk about that. We'll get into it here in a little bit.
Did you know that a man called Sting?
But let's touch on today's media call. Cody told all. He told all on this media call today, and we have it up. It's in our podcast feed. You can get the highlights from it at WrestleZone.com. And what were the telling things in this media call today with Cody, the executive vice president and TNT champion of AEW? Because he said quite a bit.
So he did say quite a bit. Now, I think we all heard the news yesterday and later confirmed by the man himself. Cody can now refer to himself as Cody Rhodes. It is no longer a dirty, dirty word.
Mm-hmm.
You know, however, he said he won't use it in a wrestling capacity. Boo. I just want to hear him called Cody Rhodes. And he's kind of said, you know, he won't be using that. He's okay with being the American Nightmare Cody. But the important thing is we can say Cody Rhodes. It's just better for his brand. You know, it's good for him. And I'm happy for him.
Do you think he just gets introduced as Cody Rhodes at some point in the
ring?
Yeah.
Maybe at some big moment in his career. But the important thing is, again, he can use it. It is nice. That question was asked by our very own Bill Pritchard. Cody has said he will not use it as a loophole to challenge Chris Jericho or challenge for the AEW title, since he cannot challenge for that title. He's not going to do something stupid like Cody couldn't, but Cody Rhodes can.
Yeah, but Stardust can.
He's not going to do that. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Cody Rhodes. Comicbook.com asked him, you talked about the sports-centric presentation. You want to expand on that a year in? How are you feeling about that? And he said, look, I got out in front of this thing and I said words. You know, I maybe I got a little too ahead of myself. I can tell you that I like sports-centric wrestling, and I will always provide sports-centric wrestling. When Cody Rhodes is in the ring, it will always be a sports-centric presentation. But the Young Bucks will bring their meta. He called them meta wrestlers. I don't know what that means, but he called them meta wrestlers.
Let me be frank. And obviously, we're in the side of things where we just interpret everything they do and analyze it and speculate and overlook everything, right? But did you get some passive aggressiveness in that? Did you get a sense of just like, the other guys that aren't on this call, that's their take. Maybe you should ask them about it. I didn't get that sense. He didn't say that outright, right?
I feel like it was important. It was an important question that needed to be addressed because, look, I have lambasted this promotion left and right for their lack of a sports-centric presentation when that was on all the press releases for the project. I appreciate Cody for saying that's what I'll give you, but there are 3 other EVPs with different ideology, and they're going to give you a different flavor, and I appreciate that, and he has my full respect for that answer. He also talked about the women. Kristen Ashley of Bell to Bells asked, hey, there wasn't much of a build for Nyla and Cheetah. How do you feel about that? What would you say to that? He said, look, not everything. I understand the wrestling fan of the last 20 years is preconditioned to everything's got to start with, and we're backstage, and there's a cake, and somebody gets slammed into the cake. But you don't always need a story. You just need 2 athletes, 2 competitors.
I also don't think you need. Hey, I'm gonna be frank. I don't think you need to treat baked goods as some jabroni. Okay, people need to start being slammed into some lasagnas. Okay, they need to be slammed into some zinis. Maybe a sandwich can be whacked over someone's head. Baked goods, cakes specifically, pies have been abused in the wrestling business. Abused, dare I say. And if we know anything about food and wrestling, we are your source. All right?
Well, listen here, Frank. I appreciate you being frank. However, I get Cody's message. I don't feel like it's enough of an answer for the entirety of the women's division. It's a fine answer for this match in this moment. But I think that there's more to the issues they have with their women's division, which I will say is the one gaping flesh wound that this company has in terms of its product, which is otherwise phenomenal. But this is
the only time. I mean, we're getting a rematch of a match I believe we saw this at it's Double or Nothing in July. We had Nyla versus Sheeta, right? And that was one of my favorite matches on that show. Now it feels like a complete afterthought. It feels like the way, I mean, they have the women. They did the Women's Deadly Draw tournament. They have the NWA Women's Champion in their fold under contract, right? So a lot of people think there's some collaboration there. Cody did talk about that, but I do think this is a match that I'm also. Let me put it to you this way: we'll talk about it when we preview and we run down this card, but it isn't a match that I think is consequential even though it's for a title. I don't get the feel for it. I don't feel the meat on the bone with this thing.
You know, it's okay. They're running out of opportunities to be able to continue to screw up with the women, but I think right now they can still afford it because they are a young promotion. They do have that, leeway period.
Definitely here. So All Elite Wrestling, plenty to see if you want to get that entire media call with Cody, and it goes pretty long. It was like over 30 minutes. You can get the whole thing. It's up now on our podcast feed. You can watch it on Facebook and YouTube as well. And if you're watching this video on demand or live, go ahead and like it. All right. If you follow us on YouTube, subscribe. All right. Then hit the like button. Then hit the ding. All right. So then you know when we go live. We're going to have a live show after AEW Full Gear on Saturday. Me and the D'Angelo brothers are going to be there.
Well,
maybe I should have my wrestling brother.
D'Angelo's.
Should I have my wrestling brother on the show as well?
That would it be Brendan?
Yeah, it'd be my brother Brendan, who's been on the show before.
I think that would be awesome.
Brendan did the graphics, the artwork for our Fast Food Royal Rumble last year. So.
Brendan's a good guy. Brendan is the you might know him as the more successful Keller. It's okay. We're all proud of Kevin in this family.
We have to talk after the show.
Excuse
us. I'm gonna be professional. Okay, I'm gonna be professional. I don't know if everyone on the screen right now is doing that, but I am going to do that. All right. I'm going to take the Cody route. I want my podcast to be sports centric.
Oh, well, you're going to get some meta podcasting out of me, pal.
I'm sorry. Is a fan of meta wrestling. There's gonna be people that say they're a meta style wrestling. How long until we get the meta t-shirt? Like they're gonna turn everything into an inside joke.
Well, because that's exactly Cody hit the nail on the head. They're meta wrestlers. Everything is we are inside the joke with you.
True, I get it. It's very cute. The tongue is planted firmly in cheek.
Firmly.
Yeah, so let's continue on here with news of the day. We don't have much coming out of WWE, but we do have some matches set up for next week's NXT. They had quite the week this week. Pat McAfee really setting up his team for what people feel is going to be a War Games match, but has not been called a War Games match just yet.
It's the best time of the year, Kevin. It's War Games.
War Games.
It is the best.
Mm-hmm. And we'll find out about that in the weeks ahead here. What do you think of Pat McAfee disrupting it last night for NXT? He was the big centerpiece of the show, coming out with Oney Lorcan and Pete Dunne and his squad, burning the Undisputed banner, really setting something up here. I like that they continue to have McAfee and his team just smash the symbolic place that Undisputed Era has in NXT. It's very much like an Empire Strike Back feeling where they're going to beat them down until they absolutely have to come back, storming back in a big way.
Yeah. I said this last night. If it wasn't for that Kingston Moxley bit on AEW, this would have been the best wrestling segment of the night, of the week, maybe of like the month. Like wrestling, Raw and SmackDown have been hit or miss, especially with this like wonky best of the best build to Survivor Series. But let me tell you something. Pat McAfee was born to do this. He's done a lot of things. I think he was born to do professional wrestling. He should not be this good for somebody who did not come up in the business, but he's damn good on the microphone.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited for what he's going to do. And I think NXT is just something he's doing now until he does something on, I'm going to say it, I think he's going to be on a WrestleMania. I think he's going to be on a WrestleMania at some point. That's how big of a star I feel he is. James Espanto Fernando Taguay. He says, Robert, how dare you bring up big curves? More respected siblings. Wait, you agree with him, Espanto? I'm reading it again. I'm looking at the screen.
You should really read these things and comprehend them before you put them on the screen.
No, I see James Espanto. He watches the show all the time. All right. He's got the keys to the clubhouse, right?
And listen, Kevin understands that I have nothing but love for Kevin. I just want to acknowledge that you may know the other siblings as the more successful ones.
Success is not determined in money.
You're right. It's determined by heart and love and joy. And damn it, Kevin, we love you.
Oh, don't talk out of your ass now. All right, we know where you stand here. So that's going on with NXT. We don't have much big news coming out of Raw or SmackDown.
Look, NXT was fun. They had a great. The 4-man segment was a great segment. Pete Dunne almost killed a guy. Like, he kicked the door in the face of Killian Dane, and there was blood. And I like that Pete Dunne isn't playing into the cheeky bits with McAfee and Oney Lorcan, Danny Burch. They're goofy because they're so happy they have a spot. It all flows together nicely. There's logic in every pore, and damn it, I love it.
Damn it, I love it. I've been watching a lot of King of the Hill. I felt like a
dang it, Bobby.
Dang it, Bobby. Get your troll dolls out of here. Troll dolls are a big thing that Bobby Hill was into. So that is where things stand with NXT. But obviously, most of today's show is going to focus on AEW. We do have SmackDown. We do have other things, but it's their week. It's their week, guys. Okay.
You know what we do have? We have a lot of things on the podcast feed.
Yes, we do.
Exclusive interview with Eddie Kingston. We've got an exclusive interview coming soon with Old Manser. Guy you know very well.
I'm close to getting the Old Manser. If we have Old Manser talking to Dominic D'Angelo, which is pretty sweet, and Dominic is talking to him about his new ad-free shows that is coming up. He's going to be doing something with Conrad Thompson, his podcast Empire. I am going to be on pay-per-view next week with him on Fight TV, November 12th. Thursday, November 12th, $13, Fight.tv, AAW Alive, Episode 3. All right, these are live shows, socially distanced, safe audiences. I've been doing the backstage interviewing at these shows. Let me tell you, I've been insulted, just like Robert insults me. I put all this work in for this show, only for people to insult me to my face and just say, dance, clown, dance, you bearded clown.
Hey, Kevin, it's okay. You're going to get to go to AEW Live. You're going to hold some beers. You're going to make people feel good.
I did hold Mance Warner's beer while he cut a promo while he was bleeding.
Yeah. So we got Manser, and this Friday, I'm really excited about this one, Kevin. The SmackDown Double Down with Colin Tessier.
Oh, dude.
This week, he will have the guest of John Clark. These two are so much fun that I want to see their dynamic together without the two of us being stupid and holding them back. Like, I think that you should check out the WrestleZone podcast feed and the WrestleZone Facebook after SmackDown, because the SmackDown Double Down, which is Colin Tessier's baby, is coming to the feed, and I'm looking forward to this episode with John Clark.
And we're going to have a live WZ post show, a WrestleZone post show on Facebook and YouTube, and obviously on the podcast feed as soon as possible, following Saturday night's pay-per-view. That's right. It's a pay-per-view. This is not on the WWE Network, and don't worry, we expect people to bitch about having to pay money to watch a full show like that. But
am I going to call me out like that, Kevin? I'm not going to do that on the air. Am I going to call me out like that?
You're making fun of me for not being successful. Look who's cheap, huh? Huh, you little baby bird making the, you know what sound little baby birds make?
Cheep, cheep.
You're darn right. You're darn right. Yeah. So let's get into it. AEW Full Gear. You're gonna be putting your money down, and we're how about we do this? Because it's really a pay-per-view. Why don't we see the value of the show at the end of this? We'll rate it going in. Is it worth your money? Do they get $50 from you? All right. Because that's what this is, right? Isn't what it's going for on BR Live, United States?
That is right. $50.
It's going for $50. Now, people in Fight TV, I don't know if it's the same price. Maybe it's the same price there internationally.
I think the UK people pay less.
All right, so we have AEW Full Gear. Different from WWE, they don't have a ton of shows. This is different for them, where they have quarterlies, and I think the long-term builds are there. But the build for this show has been different. They waited really up until last week to finalize a handful of the big matches on the show. And we didn't even know who Jon Moxley was fighting until 2 weeks ago on this pay-per-view?
Yeah, the build has been a little wonky, but I would tell you the last night's go-home show sold me completely. I mean, let's run down this card right quick. Obviously, we know in the main event we've got Eddie Kingston challenging Jon Moxley in an I Quit match.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Cody being challenged by Darby Allin. Cody called this man out on the carpet and said, "Boy, I went to bat for you. Nobody else wanted to hire you. You say you're too brooding for this belt. That is bullshit. You want to be the champion, and what's more, TNT would like you to be champion, and I'd like you to be champion, but I have the belt, and that's just not going to happen. You're not the ace. I'm the ace." I'm going to go with Darby here, but this was dope. This was a great promo segment. I love Cody Rhodes. Everything he says on the microphone hits home.
And they had a great match before Fyter Fest last summer. And that was the match that really most people got introduced to Darby Allin. They knew he was an indie darling, for lack of a better term. But I mean, that was his coming out party in terms of a mainstream audience, a much more mainstream audience. And Cody loves to test people, but is now the time where they put this title on Cody. Did they put it on title on Cody just for him to anoint Darby, to really make it clear that the executives of this company believe in him? Is that the point? Is he is Cody a transitional champion here? I don't think so. I just don't think.
That's a rough term. Cody is the perfect transitional TNT guy. Mm-hmm. I think it's time, and I think it's time for Darby. If it's not, that's okay. Cody's great. But I think it could be time we see some new we see a new face holding this belt and holding it for a while. That being said, throw the comment up on the screen, Kevin. Mm-hmm. We got a lot of questions about a man called Sting.
Okay, a man called Sting. I see a couple here. There's a couple of people who sent in Sting questions, and I'll just write this out for everyone on screen. I saw a couple of people doing it. Is Sting going to be at AEW Full Gear? We'll do that, ? And we'll put that up there, okay? Because here's the thing. We've been hearing this because of nothing else except speculation. Nothing else. There is absolutely zero sources on this story to push anyone to think that the man called Sting, WWE Hall of Famer, who had to retire due to an in-ring injury, who was only wrestling selective events, could appear in some way or other at AEW Full Gear. Now, I know many people who I would gladly tag as wrestling fans who are anti-WWE and just want every old beloved WCW thing to be represented in some way or another within AEW. And that camp really wants to see Sting show up in some way because his merchandise is no longer sold at WWE Shop, and they no longer have a deal to license his stuff anymore. So he shows up at All Elite Wrestling, right? Tell me the thing I want to hear.
Here's the deal. Darby Allin is clearly their Sting.
Yes. They literally had him up in the rafters.
They've had him up in the rafters for 2 weeks. If I want to believe that Darby Allin as a reckless man just goes and gets the help of a man called Sting, who 24 years after the fact is still putting on Brandon Lee Crow makeup, I am okay with this. I'll go as far as that I want it to happen. Do I think it's going to happen? No. But I would love Sting in AEW. Sting, I think we've learned.
But what's the long term? You have a guy. I'm not taking anything away from him, okay? His last match was losing a world title match.
5 years ago.
5 years ago with one of the best wrestlers in the world. What else do you have to prove? You're a Hall of Famer. What else is there? And I don't speak for him. I can't speak to his mindset. I can't speak to his health. I've heard Mark Henry on national Sirius XM radio say that Sting looks great. Saw him recently, looking really good, right? And that's a wrestler saying someone looks really good.
Listen, I'm not saying that we need to see Sting get in the ring and have a 6-man with the Rock and Roll Express against FTR and Tully Blanchard. I'm not saying that. But Sting, as the mentor of Darby Allin, trying to guide this reckless lost soul to the promised land against a cocky, bleach blonde prick managed by a member of the Four. I can put it here, hook it to my veins.
Okay, so you're on board. You're on board with pure speculation. Here's the thing, Robert. There's nothing connecting these dots. These dots are on other sides of the world right now. They're not even near each other.
But that doesn't mean that we can't sit here and have a little bit of fun as the world dives into chaos about the prospect of Sting.
Let me refresh the other tab to see if that is actually happening just yet.
About Sting, joining All In Wrestling, because if anything, Sting should have never, went to WWE. I think.
You think he should have never went to WWE? I disagree with that at all.
We can speak with the hindsight of 2020. I think it's fair to say, listen, the match with Triple H was a lot of fun. The match with Seth was what it was, but you could have stayed away and we would have all been okay. And if they want him and he can do something in that role, I'm all for it. That being said, yes, there is zero precedent that this will actually occur. But I have no problem diving into the hoopla and the gaga.
Of course, you just want to jump into the Lady Gaga hot tub. Here, let's see what fans are thinking, all right? Because it's really about
a different thing entirely.
Herman says, Herman German Suplex Takar says, AEW starting to look like WCW. That's absolutely true.
Listen.
Dude, come on. Anytime they can do anything WCW, people want to see them do it just because it's on Turner.
Are you suggesting to me, Herman, that a television show with a member of the Rhodes family in a prime capacity that is also featured on Turner Network Television, that also features Eric Bischoff on occasion, Chris Jericho, you're suggesting that looks like WCW? To you, sir, I say, get some glasses. Because I don't see
Robert, to you, I say get a life.
I am laying it on thick. All right.
you were laying it on real thick there, pal. I get it. All right. You've read some Wikipedias. You're ready for the trivia contest.
Whoa. Sir, I am the Wikipedia, sir.
Oh, I have something cool to show you too. And speaking of trivia, I just realized I had to check and see if I had it in the room with me. I have something cool, a fun surprise, and I will read from a book before the end of today's program for the people of the diehards that are with us 32 minutes in here. So we don't know if Sting's shown up, but let's see what more people are saying about it. Sting can manage Darby. They're on board with you on that. Logan Blade says Sting should stay away from AEW. Stay away from it.
That is his prerogative.
And then other people noting that he's not under a WWE contract. Other people saying Sting in New Japan sounds a lot better. Sting coming out there in New Japan.
I don't know if we need that, man.
The thing is, if you go to New Japan, they want you to have a match.
Yeah.
They want you to go out there and get power bombed on your head 5 times before you get to the ring.
I don't know if we need Sting and JPW, but let's move on a little further down the card here, shall we? Let's get this one out of the way because it's the buy-in. It's a simple match. Serena Deeb, Allison Kay, NWA Women's World Championship.
Yeah, this was just added this week.
What do you think?
It's interesting. It's another example of NWA continue to have some type of presence in the national wrestling landscape without being able to tape their Power Web series. They do have the United Wrestling primetime show, but that's like a mixture of them and other groups. Am I correct? I've seen.
Yeah, well, it's essentially where all the freelance workers go.
Okay, cool. But to some degree, some people think that's NWA as well. They have some contracts. You have people honking their horns outside.
I know, all
right, it's pure bedlam here. We are on the fringe of the collapse. Blah 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 blah. All that stuff happening. Yeah. So to me, it's interesting. It's interesting because Allison Kay is now a free agent. She just said that a few days ago. And she had a deal with NWA, but the deal is no longer present. Serena Deeb has a deal with AEW, but she's the NWA Women's Champion. All right. So some people want to know how is this NWA stuff going to work? Is it going to come together?
It's a little puzzling and confuzzling, just like my video feed kind of getting a little blurry there. But I will say it's fine. It's a cool match for the show. Allison Kay was like throwing some pod shots at the NWA, like, hey, wait a minute, why is nobody on the NWA women's roster getting a title shot? Then gets her released from the NWA to immediately receive an NWA title shot in
maybe
a
that
third
was
party.
A big old workaroony.
I think it's a little tied together. I think they should sign her. This company,
They need him. They need somebody, and she knows. Like I always talk about how people need to know how to work to the camera and work a TV wrestling style and hit their cues. Kay knows how to do that. She did that in Impact for years there, and can carry her weight in that role.
I think that this company's main priority, if I'm the guy, and I never will be, if I'm the guy who's in charge of hiring talent, I'm like, we need some domestic female talent.
Mhm.
We need names. We need Serena Deeb. We need Alison Kay. We need Layla Hirsch. We need Nicole Savoy, Trisha Adora, Alley Cat. People like Danhausen, right? They like Danhausen. They like Warhorse. Why isn't Alley Cat signed to a major promotion?
Dude, Alley Cat's a really talented person. Yeah.
Can you explain to me why that hasn't happened yet?
I don't know. I don't have the checkbook, Robert.
I'm asking you, Kevin. You know things.
No, I don't know. I don't know. I'm okay with that. I love how this thing doesn't frame out correctly when I type out full words. Let's get into the matches that people are going to be buying this show for. The main card, the main event, because there's more than just one selling point for this show. And if it's $50 in 2020 during a pandemic, when millions of people have lost their jobs recently, you better, deliver on the money and the bucks here. Speaking of Bucks, the Young Bucks versus FTR. This is the dream match we were supposed to get for years and years and years. Literally, the Revival, the team now known as FTR, were in WWE, held SmackDown, Raw tag team titles. Yet at the same time, it was publicly known that they were asking to get out of their deals, had more time added to their deals due to injuries. All right. And stayed with the company, yet WWE wanted them to still stay. They said no for over a year, working through a WrestleMania. I saw these men wrestle in a stadium on one of the biggest wrestling shows of the year. They still said, we want the match. And the match was with the Young Bucks. On the other side of it, FTR comes in. They get the titles within a few months, storming through. Tully Blanchard is their manager. These guys love old school wrestling. And who's the new school of wrestling? Well, it's the Young Bucks. And the Young Bucks start this whole promotion. They're EVPs, but the first year of it, they've been getting their asses kicked in every big primetime match. So the story tells itself that way. But that isn't enough, Robert. We need more. We need it, as you throw it on thick, But my thing is, you threw on too much sauce. Okay, you ever have pancakes with too much syrup and butter on them?
I'm not a fan of pancakes with too much syrup. As a matter of fact, I'm a light syrup guy. Just like I think that this match could have been a light syrup match.
Yes.
Now I take this a little differently, as Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer reported earlier, or I believe last night following the events, that Matt Jackson is actually injured.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, I'm screaming by myself. So therefore, that's why they're running this injury angle, which is a bit of a wonky angle. But if that is why they're doing it, I'm okay with it. I just hope that when the bell rings and when we hear that ding ding, we get the match that we've always wanted. And I think it can be the greatest tag team match in North America.
It can be, but I mean, we're not getting Matt Jackson 100%. Okay, so we know that.
Unfortunate.
This isn't with a crowd, and that's okay. And I think with a dream match, you want some form of an organic reaction to everything you're doing. I went and saw the Bucks versus Omega and Page, and I thought that was one of the best tag team matches, if not the best tag team match I have ever seen. All right, they can do this, but the times are obviously different. There's some things you can't defeat, circumstances. Then you have Jackson working with a knee injury here, ACL, MCL. It's pretty serious, and he was in the ring having a match on Wednesday. And they even made a point of saying, is it worth it for him to have this match just a few days out? And this team laid you out with a chair like a week or two ago.
It's not like we don't know.
But my thing is the add-on of, if we don't win this match, we'll never challenge for the tag team titles. I get what it's supposed to do. What it's supposed to do is make you feel like the stakes are even higher. It isn't just a tag title match. But I think the stakes were already high. And now you've just made them higher in a way where I'm not there yet. Just let me enjoy you guys having the match. Let me enjoy you guys having this match you've been building up to for months and months and months and months and months. And now it's, if we don't win this, we're never going to challenge for the belts again. So then why even be a team? Why would they even be a team then? What would the point be of even
and what's
seeing...
the purpose of one Jackson without the other?
Exactly. So then it makes the point of, well, then do they have to win the titles then?
I think they do.
Is it a given that they win the titles?
I think it is, but I don't necessarily think that's bad. So like AEW is teaching wrestling fans predictable isn't bad. We're so used to, oh, but we got to throw in the big old swerve because the internet saw this coming, so we're going to hit them with the left when they thought we were going right.
And WWE's done that a lot in the last 10 years too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's necessary. Look, we're going to talk about Hangman and Omega in a second. Predictable as all hell was that tournament. But that's a good predictable. That was like, good.
Like, and this feels, it's almost like we need you to make sure you can't miss this. And my thing is, I think Bucks versus FTR sells itself. Like in a way that you've built it up. You've built your name.
It would have sold itself. It doesn't need the hat on a hat. No. They've given it the hat and the hat. But you know what? If we can rebound with a good match, that's all that's going to matter on Saturday night.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into the tournament final, the Eliminator tournament. The winner will get the next shot at the AEW World Champion. And the interesting thing about this tournament, a lot of people complaining about it because it just didn't follow the rankings that AEW has. And you have several people that are ranked very high that aren't even on this pay-per-view, and they even cut a promo about it. Team Taz, how you doing? Brian Cage, how you doing? Ricky Starks, how you doing? I want to know, how are you doing? You seem very upset on the show. So this match, though, has been built up to for a long time. Former tag team champions, they did the Cinderella, you don't know what you got until it's gone.
This was so good.
Yeah.
And you know what was even better? Tony Khan going on Twitter and saying, you like that song? I think I finally figured out the 50-plus crowd. Pop. Big old pop for me. I do like some hair metal, so genuinely good jam.
Yeah, they use that in the vignette this Wednesday.
Playing this out like a weird breakup. Yeah. Like a weird high school breakup.
And it's long and drawn out. And is it about him? Is it about, Paige getting kicked out of the Elite? Is there even Elite? Is Kenny
Cody seemed to say no, there is no Elite.
Yeah, Cody even said on the call. So it's very interesting. You're gonna have Paige versus Omega here. The winner gets the next shot at the title. A lot of people think it's a foregone conclusion that Omega is set to win this, become the cleaner again, become the bout machine he was in New Japan. He had some injury issues. Some people thought that's why they were hiding him in a tag team, but he's still having banger tag team matches, right? So I do think it is him, but there is so much story you can tell in the same way you had with Jey Uso and Roman Reigns, where it becomes about, can Paige get it together? Can he put the glass down and show up on Saturday in ring shape and dial it in? Because if he does, he can win. Like when he's focused and he's on and he's not doubting himself, or he's not like most of America right now, filled with overwhelming anxiety. Maybe he can make this thing click. And I think if there is the biggest curveball they could throw on this show is Paige winning this tournament.
Yeah, I hope not. Like I just said, predictable is good. Yeah, and I am good with where we're at.
I'm good with it as well, and I think they're gonna have a banger match. Like that's one of the matches.
Oh, match of the
20, night. 30 minutes.
Match of the night, bell to bell, match of the night.
You think that's the bell-to-bell match of the night. But let's talk about other matches on the card. We do have Sheeta versus Nyla Rose. We do want to give them some look here. As we mentioned, the build to that match, not too great. This is a follow-up of a match they had on pay-per-view before. So this would be one of the first times they've had a repeat match on pay-per-view, or a rematch, right?
We got two. We got Cody as well.
Cody and Darby, they did that on Fyter Fest. I think that show was free, but I mean, it's different, a little bit. So you have Rose versus Sheeta here. Something makes me think Rose is getting that title back.
I think this is just a foregone conclusion that it's all Sheeta.
It's all Sheeta.
If I'm frank, I don't necessarily care about the result of this one. I care about when are we getting Dr. Brittany Baker, DMD, that championship.
I think Britt Baker's a huge star that we haven't seen her on. She wasn't on Dynamite this week. She was on the week before. Like
she's not only a huge star, she is a dentist. And she has made a lot of money.
Yes. Dealing with molars and such. So that's where things stand with the women on this card. As we mentioned, they have 2 matches, one on the buy-in and this one. One that was moved up from the buy-in, and I do think this could be the fun comedy match of the night, is John Silver, the running around there, also bald and bearded fella from the Dark Order, who's become quite the comedy hit for AEW on the Being the Elite web series. And the other, bigger, much more popular comedy wrestler, the guy who just tries enough. Talking about Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy versus John Silver on the main card. I can see this being in the middle of the show to kind of lighten things up.
Yeah, and I think this should be one of the... I don't want to overhype this one for myself, but I think this could be one of the best comedy matches just because of the comedic timing of these 2 men.
Mm-hmm. Who do you got? I think Cassidy wins.
I would say so. I see no reason to put John Silver over.
Mm-hmm. Now let's get a little bit more controversial. What was the big oh no thing coming out of the last AEW pay-per-view? It was Matt Hardy.
That'd be Matt Hardy.
Yeah, that'd be Matt Hardy in a Falls Count Anywhere hardcore match with Sammy Guevara. And he fell off a ramp, a kind of like structure. He's supposed to go through 2 tables. He hit the floor, concrete, hit his head, was concussed. It was very, very bad. They called the match. Then apparently 3 minutes later, they want to get to the big thing at the end where Sammy Guevara, his opponent, could be knocked off a 20-foot structure outside the ring. They started backstage outside the ring so he could go through, something, crash through some platforms, land on some pads. That's what they did.
That is what they did.
This match will be competed at the Hardy compound. It will be a cinematic match. They're teasing that you're going to get, Matt Hardy, the man of dimensions, broken Matt, right? You're going to get all those tricks and stuff.
Oh, like yes, that. All those things that I know that we've just been dying to see.
We've just been dying to see. Is this a selling point for the pay-per-view? Because it feels like it should be, and it isn't.
No.
It isn't a selling point.
This will be a damn good match. This will be a cinematic match. This is these gentlemen trying to finish their story properly, and I can respect that, but there's no reason for this.
You think they get a lot of time on this? Because you're doing a cinematic match. You can't do those quick, though.
I think they should get a decent amount of time, especially because they only got, 5 minutes at the last pay-per-view.
Chris Jericho has been teasing it with MJF. Is he going to join the Inner Circle? Is he not? Are they getting along? They then did their very controversial singing and dancing segment, which then makes me think, well, why would they have a match if they were singing and dancing together? I thought they would tag team together, but then they had a town hall, which some people really enjoyed with Eric Bischoff, and here we are. If MJF can defeat Chris Jericho at Saturday's pay-per-view Full Gear, he will join the Inner Circle faction. Most of the people in the Inner Circle don't seem to be on board with it. Some are sort of okay with it. And you had this match on Dynamite, a tag team match, where MJF and his very big Wardlow, won against Ortiz, I believe. Was it Ortiz and Sammy Guevara? And then Chris Jericho at ringside on commentary was attacked by MJF. Yeah, and he gave that smile of like, I like that. Yeah, I like that. You brought it.
But
what happens here? What is going on?
Flustered.
This is another storyline with a lot of moving pieces. I'm not out of it, but I'm not completely on board.
He was also very flustered by the fact that MJF beat him up. I think this will tell its story later on. The match will be fun. They'll out-heel each other. But this story is going to be told later on down the line.
I'm thinking that MJF and Jericho have a very much a big superstar moment. That this is a match that could lend itself to their personality and all the shenanigans. And I do think there's something here where this becomes maybe MJF's signature win, much more so than anything he got out of Cody. And I thought the Cody storyline was great, but I think this could be a humbling night for Chris Jericho. A humbling night for a guy who's turning 50 just a day after this. A humbling night for him when the Inner Circle turns on him. I think that's the way this goes. I think he gets booted out of the Inner Circle either from this or after this. This leads to his downfall, and we get Chris Jericho. Does he still have it? Is there another incarnation of Chris Jericho? Is there a demigod? Is there a best in the world? Is there another Y2J? Does he have another way to, flip and unfold like Madonna and have a new persona to come out there with? And we'll find out.
Chris Jericho to Madonna, please. That'd
what?
Be nice. Never compare Chris Jericho to Madonna.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm talking about the King of Wrestling and the Queen of Pop.
I would say that Jericho, he's still keeping it together. You don't gotta go the full Madonna route.
You know what I'm saying? Like, does he have another trick after this? Because I think, to me, I'm not saying it's super predictable, but MJF losing this, what is to be gained from that in the long run? What is to be gained from him losing? It feels like they'll have a competitive match, and MJF will find a way to beat him. And then MJF takes over the Inner Circle, and you're gone, Chris.
I almost think like that's got to be the ending. MJF takes over the Inner Circle.
Yeah, storyline-wise, it's one of the more compelling things here. Let's talk about the main event, the AEW World Title. Super intense promo this week. We talked about it at the top of the show. Eddie Kingston versus Jon Moxley. What do you think?
Badass mother effers who know how to fight. And I cannot wait for this match. I am looking forward to seeing Jon Moxley retain, because I think that's got to be given. But wow, what a story they're going to tell.
And also, what a moment for Eddie Kingston. You're talking about a guy who's been in the business nearly 20 years. Is he physically the wrestler he once was? Probably. I think he has more things left in the tank that we haven't seen in AEW that I've seen him do on the independents, that I've seen him do on shows that I was also contributing to. I think the thing about him that is the most compelling is the character of him legitimately saying, I could be incarcerated if I wasn't doing this. I could be in an institution. I could be all these things. That is 100%. When I say this about him, I mean this from working around him. He is everything he says he is. That isn't a character. Okay. That isn't a character. He is that roughneck guy from New York. He is a guy who told me he would walk down the street and see people that he robbed when he was in high school. And he would have to look at their hands and see, all right, they're going to pull a gun or a knife on me. Are they going to turn sideways? Or are they going to remember that thing? And,
wow, that's awful.
And yeah, but that's Eddie Kingston. So that's a guy who poured everything into wrestling, man. Everything into it. He is an incredibly passionate and very fully dimensional character, and in terms of AEW, I think he is one of those guys who I think would only work there in terms of the creative freedom you have to do it your way. And if he wasn't here, I would hope I could see him in like a crime film. Like he just feels like an incredible, like great character performer. And the character he plays best is Eddie Kingston.
I can agree with that.
Now, does that mean that character is going to be so strong and so supported and has his familia behind him with Lucha Brothers? No, I feel like he goes in this match alone. It's him and Moxley, very personal feud. I think they get a lot of time. And some people, Logan Blade saying Kingston gets distracted by Renee. I don't think Renee is going to be involved, guys. Sorry. Don't think that's going to happen.
I don't know if we need Renee involved.
Kyle, is this where Pac gets involved? No, Pac had the death triangle with the Lucha Brothers, and they brought that up this week that Eddie Kingston kind of took those guys away from him when Pac showed up. And the thing is, Eddie Kingston has only been there since July, and this guy's already in a pay-per-view main event for the title.
It's already his second title match.
Yeah, and so what do you think here? Is there a shot he wins? Is it a lock that Moxley leaves Saturday with the title?
It should be a lock. I don't know.
Anthony Garcia saying Kingston wins and shocks the wrestling world. It would be quite shocking. How big of a story would that be? A guy, by all standards, a journeyman wrestler with a lot of talent, but had won titles on the independents. But I mean, a guy that people said, well, man, no, he's cool, but there were critics of him. But I think those critics they're eating crow right now because this guy is one of the best active on television characters in wrestling right now in a incredible challenge with a champion. Jon Moxley's a talented guy, but I do think people want to see some changes to the world title. Is this a time to pull that trigger and do something different with the world title? Or do you stick with in the long term, Moxley versus Omega is a good match to get to? Maybe they just give us enough doubt to believe it could happen, right?
I think the promo on Wednesday proved that he could easily be the champion if he needed to be. But I think Moxley is the guy who needs to lose the belt to Omega.
He needs to lose the belt to. I think losing the belt to Omega on the long run is a better thing. And they have their history. You know, they have their unsanctioned match. They had that stuff. They've had kind of a long extended feud as well. And AEW loves a long payoff. You know, if you're gonna pay money to see it, you're gonna get the payoff. So that's where we stand. You know, it's going to be on traditional pay-per-view. I do think it's going to be judged harder, just as the last AEW pay-per-view was, even from their own fans who love the Dynamite show every week. Does it deliver? Does it deliver on the billing? I mean, we just ran down the card. I think the late filling of the card may have been a touching point, because I saw a lot of people get mad about that with Hell in a Cell. You know, the last WWE show that was a pay-per-view, a network special. That they only have Hell in a Cell matches.
No, that was different because this card had 8 matches. No, this card had 8 matches announced.
Yeah,
like the Hell in a Cell had 4.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
but it's a cell. The cell sells it here. Over on YouTube, Stellar Sexy and saying, I know Kingston not going to win, but I hope he does. So there's just people kind of like tuning in and rooting for him. I could agree with that. And they did it's weird. He was the heel a few weeks ago. You know what I mean? He was the heel, attacking with his gang of guys, and then this week he kind of reverts.
You're gonna make me do it, Kevin.
What?
You're gonna make me do it.
What?
Heels and baby faces are antiquated terms, Kevin. You have the people that you don't want to lose and the people that you don't want to win.
You have good guys and bad guys. Look it up. What is that? Raw 1997 sometime?
We think that you're tired of having your intelligence. We take things from Seinfeld and King of the Hill.
King of the Hill. Yeah, he did mention King of the Hill on that. Yeah. We're writing television shows. We're talking about a famous speech that Vince McMahon gave on television over 20 years ago. All right, we'll take a couple questions here to end out WrestleZone wrap-up for the week. Reminder that exclusive interview with Eddie Kingston is up now on the podcast feed, on video, on Facebook and YouTube, and so much more. We'll take a couple of your questions, get them in there. Don't forget to follow us this weekend on all the socials, by the way. Instagram, we have an Instagram if you're just a Grammy person. We do not have a MySpace. I have been asked. You can give us a follow on Twitter and Facebook, all that good stuff. And just, like I said, make sure your notifications are on so you know exactly when we go live with those post shows for SmackDown and AEW Full Gear. So, Robert, you want to do plugs now, or we wait until plugs?
Well, it doesn't matter. You know, the good people know where they can find me. I'll wait till you do your plugs, sir.
Okay, we'll wait to do plugs.
I'm going to get this one in. I've been a good boy. I wasn't going to do too much about politics, but Gerald Briscoe tweeted out, "It looks like I will be the only Hall of Famer getting let go this year." And whatever you think, I just popped for that.
If you're with us live as it stands, we're not a news channel, guys. There's plenty. You can refresh the other tab if you have it up right now. As it stands right now, the Associated Press reporting that Joe Biden has 264 electoral votes to Donald Trump, the incumbent, the reigning president,
also
the reigning and defending president.
Also WWE Hall of Famer, so we have an excuse to talk about
it. Trump currently has 214. You need 270 to win. That's where things stand, so you don't have to jump over to something else, and it doesn't look like it's going to get updated anytime soon. It doesn't look like we're going to get any.
No, he just spoke. It ain't getting updated anytime soon.
Yeah, ain't getting updated anytime soon here. This is a good question. Laura Rock with us all the time. Thank you so much, Laura. Appreciate your support with those wonderful words in your.
I haven't been on the show much lately, but these people, I'm noticing that the extras are starting to get. They're starting to turn the faithful against me. Now we got James in the chat giving out John Clark's Twitter. Do you see John? I don't see John.
Hey, John put in the work, dude. Okay, and he's loyal. All right, he works for one team. Okay, we don't have to loan him out on the weekends. Okay,
I'm loyal to wrestling. Can you say the thing? Mr. Radio and Comedy. I'm loyal to the game.
Those who know. We'll get into all of it. Don't worry. I'll bust his chops. Laura wants to know, where's Brody Lee at? Brody Lee is a big omission on this pay-per-view. Though the Dark Order, his faction of goons that were formerly like supernatural and occulty, now they're just guys who wear masks and are bad guys, right? They're represented on the show with John Silver. Brody Lee not on the show. No, and also no multi-man battle royal on this show to get a bunch of people on the card.
Brody Lee is in the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
Resting, gaining his chi, you might say. I don't know where the hell Brody Lee is. What a weird rigmarole he's gone through with, like, he gets the belt, he defends it against Cassidy, he has a great dog collar match, which maybe should have been saved for this pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. Don't know. And then we get Darby Allin. Maybe Darby Allin in the Dark Order got something cooking. I don't know.
More AEW hot takes with Full Gear this Saturday night. Will Eddie Kingston get that title? Or do they want to stick with as Khali Stamanal wearing her sunglasses on screen here, looking oh so cool, looking out the window? What's ahead? She says this is ahead. Eddie won't win. Too much money to be made with Mox versus Omega. Is that such a dream match that AEW can't say no to it down the line for the title?
Well, it's not a dream match, as they've run it before, and they ran it in a very brutal match. But I think it's a good one to run back to because that is great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. More questions coming in here. I'm trying to keep up with them. Here we go. You see any? I'm rolling by here. Here we go. Anthony Garcia. Sorry, these are coming by fast, guys. I'm getting out with them as fast as I can. He says, "Do you guys think that Mox can have a clean match with Omega, or is Omega just too good of a wrestler?"
I like that we're skipping over Eddie Kingston and we're going straight to Omega.
I can tell you that Eddie Kingston believes he's the best wrestler in the world. As he put it, my right hand is stronger than any V-trigger or paradigm shift. I don't
know if that means him the best wrestler. He's just a damn scrappy fighter.
He's a scrappy man.
I respect a scrappy man. But I do think they can have a clean match. I think Moxley goes out of his way and wants to have an Iron Man match.
Haley doesn't want it. She wants to kill all these dreams. Haley's walking in and just crushing
Haley
dreams
is
under her
here.
foot.
She wants the cleaner. And she's going to get it, I think. AJ Harris says no. AJ Harris says the Hangman wins on Saturday. Hey, celebratory whiskey on the Hangman. I'm for it.
Yeah, I'm trying to see more questions if you guys got them coming in here. Here's one. What if Logan Blade versus the Big Show? Who wins? What match is this? What if you want to have Logan Blade?
What if John Silver faces the Big Show?
John Silver, excuse me. I'm sorry. Logan Blade says, "What if John Silver, fun little goofy John Silver, and I mean that in a good way. That's a compliment. Versus large goofy Big Show. Wow. Big Show would wreck him, but it would be fun.
He would wreck him, but in the most fun way possible. I'd like to see John Silver in the Dark Order, like on a BTE sketch, go for the WWE 24/7 title. I'd like the worlds to collide and just have that beauty."
Have you seen John Silver's Tough Enough tryout video?
I have not.
I was floating around. I mean, he's been wrestling a long, long time. I mentioned AAW. He has a match you can watch for free on AAW's YouTube channel with Silas Young. It's a very, very good match. And he's for all intents and purposes, he's another guy like Eddie Kingston. He hasn't been wrestling nearly as long as him, but is one of those guys who put his life into this and went full tilt with it. And now it's getting paid off with this national exposure in AEW. And I feel good for him. I do think he deserves a pay-per-view match. He deserves this spot. He deserves this role, and those are earned. And I can see him being AEW Santino, in terms of that there's people who need those roles. Wrestling fans want comedic performers. Clearly they want it in AEW. Clearly they want it in somebody like Orange Cassidy. So it's sort of like a big clash of comedy characters. I think Orange wins, but Silver wins just by being on the show and being John Silver.
Yeah, I think he does. I'm currently looking at his Tough Enough video. He's a great man. Mm-hmm. John Silver is a damn fine man.
People want to see you versus John Silver. Put it live on WZ, dude. We don't have that money. We don't have John Silver bucks.
I think John Silver is one person I would like to do a thing with. I could have fun. I can have fun with John Silver.
All right, you want to do plugs now?
Yeah, why not? I mean, James already gave.
All right, why don't you read what James? James is a big fan of the show. Okay, so guys, if you're listening, I know plenty of people listen to the show. So if you're listening, you always hear us say James is sponsored. We've already done it, and you guys are with us. Our show is a virtual couch. It's a show where we invite people into the conversation. It's like a classroom, all right? And Robert and I are the substitute teachers who are like, screw history, let's watch wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're doing. Yeah. And James, for whatever reason, is always in detention in our class. And he goes, he wrote out, because he watches our show so much, he wrote out Robert's.
I'm going to literally read this as it was written. Follow Robert DeFelice at DeFelice, WrestleZone, Smart Guy Moment. Other than that, he'll be turning tricks for Big Daddy Sean Ross South of Fightful Select. WrestleZone doesn't have a paywall. Just saying. Shout out to Tony Mango with a little mango emoji.
If you're turning tricks, it doesn't sound like you're working for him on Fightful Select. It sounds like you're running an OnlyFans.
Oh, well, okay. Look, so here's the deal. You can't follow me on
nothing. There is nothing wrong with having
nothing wrong with sex workers. Nothing wrong with sex workers. Nothing.
Hey, support them. All right, they're out there working hard.
Absolutely. So yes, you can follow me on Twitter at DudeFelice. You should be checking out WrestleZone as you're already here. Hello. Go over there and click on the website.
Hello.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Monday, there is that paywall. But Sean works very hard, and I also do a podcast with Sean now. Every Wednesday night, the Wednesday Night War. I do it with Sean Rossap and Alex Pulowski. And I do have a lot of fun with Tony Mango over at smartgoutmoment.com. Check out everything they got going
twice. On. You read your plugs from someone else, and then you did your plugs again.
But hold on. As I said earlier in the show, ladies and gentlemen, I'm loyal to wrestling. Because Kevin Gallen's going to talk now, and he's going to talk about other industries. He's going to talk about entertainment, because he thinks he's too good for you. That's okay.
How do you say entertainment again? You said that from the back of your nasal cavity. You leaned back as if you were smelling your own fart when you said it. You went like this, entertainment.
Oh, golly. Tell them where you're at.
Oh, golly. Gee, golly whiz. Well, wrestling fans, of course, you can check me out here on the WrestleZone podcast. Let me just tell you this. You have a lot of options to watch anything online, to listen to any podcast. Thank you for listening to ours. Maybe you enjoy all of the ridiculousness that we have here. Notice you could go to other websites, some of them that have been mentioned in this podcast, and God bless those people. They're doing hard work, right? But when you come to ours, we want this party. We want this ball thrown back at each other. Here are my chops. Bust them, all right? And I'm saying that because I want our show to be fun. It's inviting. You get the inside terms. You're in the party. You're in the zone. There you go. And I do at some point want to make the t-shirt, Robert. We have to do this. That says the WrestleZone theme song t-shirt. It says wrestle, and then it says zone, and it's just 0 0 0 0 0 going down the whole shirt.
That.
We got to make that shirt, right? And if we make that shirt, will you guys buy that shirt? Will you buy that shirt? That's the important part. So definitely check out all that we're doing. We'll have a live post show for AEW Full Gear on Saturday. I'll be on that. And of course, I'll be on socials. I'll be on our Twitter. I'll be behind all those things. So while you're enjoying the show or following the show, you can do it there. And tomorrow, after a couple weeks off, I will be excited, pumped. I'll be talking up the tunes, man. I'll be back on air with 101 WKQX Friday night and Saturday afternoon. You can listen anywhere in the world on iHeartRadio, on 101WKQX.com, the best alternative music in the world, the best alternative radio station in the world. So pumped to be back on air in Chicago and, of course, worldwide, streaming live, baby. Other things. November 12th, I'll be on Fight TV, $12.99 on pay-per-view AAW Alive. Hopefully we'll have some big interviews with that. We know Mance Warren will be talking to us soon. Maybe I'll get another one sometime soon as well. So that's all the big things we have here. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. You've watched 69 minutes. Oh, 69 minutes of content. You've listened to it. You've taken it. You've consumed it into your ears. All right. And if you enjoyed it, share it. Just pass it on. That's all we ask. If you have that one friend that sends wrestling memes all the time, we want them in the party. Okay? I'll meme it up. Meme the American meme. I want to hear it. All right? Let's see it. And despite all the news of the world, we hope that you guys get a fun escape with the shows here. And we're so appreciative that you turned to us when you could just be refreshing other screens and tabs right now. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. Robert, when they're watching wrestling, when they're watching Full Gear, when they're not following the news, but they're watching what's going on in the ring, what are they supposed to do?
Enjoy wrestling.